Hi, Amy.
Abby.
Last night we watched 90 Day Fiancé Season 11, Episode 7. What are your initial thoughts?
I found it quite enjoyable, actually.
Good.
Not as irritating as I had thought it was going to be. I think that's the best that I can say about it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little bored, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know. Usually you're the one that's bored and I'm the one who's like, there was so much going on. I loved it. And this time I didn't feel like there was much substance this week. I'm a little bit worried.
Maybe it was just my mood, but I mean, I'll take it because I did enjoy it. So it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
That is good. That is
Actually,
fine.
I think the reason why I enjoyed it the most is because Greg and Joan were on it.
Yes, good old Greg.
Yes.
I have much to say about him.
To deal with the throuple as well.
That's right. It's always a good day when we don't have to deal with them.
Yes. The bar's low.
It is getting lower, I fear, all the time. Definitely not limbo under it anymore. And before we dive into last night's wonderful episode, I'm just going to do our 1, 2, 3. Please, 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast. 2, watch our podcast on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé. Honestly, 3, our subscriber-only content in which we're discussing season 2 of The Last Resort. We only have the tell-all left to go, by the way, is available on Apple and Spotify only. And a very quick shout out to our listeners who reached out to us this week to comment on our show. Thank you for your feedback and your interactions. It was great.
Thank you, everyone.
Let us begin.
Okay.
Shekinah and Sarper. What are they doing? Sarper has to leave the house because Shekinah has her first client. So what does he do? Takes a long walk through the neighborhood just as he's been instructed to by Master Shekinah. Mistress Shekinah? Overlord Shekinah.
I loved his commentary because as he was wandering around, he was like, "I'm temporarily homeless." Poor Sarper. And I found it interesting that she said that she had a client today. So it's not, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. It seems like it's more of a one-off thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more unpredictable for him. And I would assume that she doesn't share her calendar with him. So he doesn't really know until she's like, "Hey, leave." Great.
Okay. Yep. Sarper goes off. He calls his parents back in Turkey. They think it's weird that he's wandering the streets, that he's temporarily homeless. It's also weird that Shekinah didn't tell Sarper that this is how things were going to be before they even came to the United States. Totally agree on that count. He should have known. She should have shared that information with her. Although it probably wouldn't have changed him coming to the US, at least he'd be prepared.
I think just giving him that information is just respectful. You can't sell it as, you can come and live with me and it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows, and yet not, because he's living with her, and then drop several bombs on him that, not only does she work out of her apartment, condo, whatever, but he can't stay there and he also can't cook. And the poor guy, he has so much to deal with, emotionally and mentally, with coming over to the States. And I bet that must be very overwhelming for everyone that does it. And then to throw him in this situation is just so awful.
Agreed.
Unkind.
Yeah, unkind. For sure. Because while he's out wandering the streets, Shekinah's with her client and she has an entire film crew in the apartment with her, which completely negates the whole reason why Sarper had to leave, unless, of course, the crew members are all women. Because Shekinah said she thinks it's very unprofessional to have a man there while her clients are having treatments and, of course, spilling their deepest, darkest secrets to her. So were the crew all women? I want to know.
That's actually a great question. I did make a comment in my notes about how, she can't have him in the house, but the film crew?
Yeah. And it's 3 of them, probably, or more.
Yeah, but that's okay. I would assume that they would have to sign a waiver and whatever to be on TV and to be filmed, which is fine. It's just sad that it ostracizes him so much.
Yeah, I don't like double standards in any way, shape, or form, and this was just so obvious and blatant. I didn't appreciate it. In any case, Sarper says to his parents, if he didn't love Shekinah, he wouldn't be there putting up with all of this stuff, like not being able to cook in his own kitchen, living in this teeny tiny little space that he says, he keeps falling over himself or knocking into walls, something like that. He can't move around very easily. And of course, he gets kicked out whenever there's a client. It's kind of a bad situation. I feel sorry for him.
I do
Again,
too, but
communication.
I was really proud of the way that he spoke to his parents because he didn't try to dumb it down or to pad it in any way. He was very honest with them. And he also told them not to rent out his apartment, which I thought was a very powerful and bold move of him, and also very safe and reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. Shekinah and Sarper go out in the evening to meet up with some of her friends, among which is Dan. We've met him before. He's Shekinah's kinda ex. It's confusing to me whether he's a full-blown ex or just somebody. I don't know. The details are sketchy. But this guy just wants to be in a dick swinging contest with Sarper. It was so boring, so stupid, so completely male chauvinistic, typical macho man rhetoric. I rolled my eyes so many times. I just wanted them all to shut up.
That would have been lovely. But you know who did shut up? Was Sarper.
Who?
He held that tongue. Like it was ironclad in his mouth. He did so well to not respond, to not react. He did so well. Man, this guy has really grown on me.
His self-control was admirable.
Yeah.
You could see him struggling a little bit not to immediately clap back to Dan when he's doing his stupid comments about Shekinah and their relationship and who he is and who Sarper is. Just like, okay, dude, like, we know that you're a plant from production. You don't have to overdo it. Just a couple of comments and then be on your way. That'll do. That'll suffice.
He was overly peacocking.
Oh my God. Anyway, this ridiculous discussion should have been stopped by Shekinah. I felt very strongly that she should have intervened, stepped in. She did kind of once, but it was so weak, didn't have any effect whatsoever. But she could have just said to Dan, look, you're being an ass. This is Sarper's first time in LA. It's his first night out. I'd like to make a good impression. Can you please be more welcoming rather than this stupid macho man business?
Yeah. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous and completely uncalled for. And we didn't need any of it because we've seen this guy before. And I think it was just before she moved to Turkey. And he said, you know, we could be together and we could be a thing. And she was like, nah.
He's a
but
plant.
without telling him no.
Yeah, I think they were both following a script in that case before she went to Turkey. And in this case, he's been given a new script. He's following it. And she's just sitting back because she's really not allowed to intervene. Or maybe she didn't feel that she had to intervene. Either way, waste of time. This is why I was starting to get a bit annoyed with the show last night. I want real interactions. I don't want setup situations.
That's fair.
Do you have anything else for Sarper and Shekinah? No more undying love, undying admiration. Okay. Reading on. Let's talk about Mark and Mina.
All right.
He starts off by saying, let's try to have fun, please, which I felt was kind of like a prayer more than a hope or a plea.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And then he says that it's really frustrating to have to deal with this. And by this, he means frustrating to have to deal with the aftermath of his own decisions. Oh, isn't that
the
lovely?
aftershocks of his own talking to his daughter and his bride out of turn and making them both have ammunition that they will now use against one another.
Glorious. Glorious. Thank God life is not chess.
They are heading to a barbecue, Mark, Mina, and Maria. Jordan will be there. Mark suggests to Mina that this is a good opportunity for her to apologize to Jordan. Right. Yeah, like that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They get on this ferry boat to go over to the island. So Jordan is there. Mina's there. It's very tense.
They have to be on a ferry together. It's not a beach. Jordan can't just walk away unless she jumps off the boat and swims away.
That'd be good.
This is a very isolating mode of transportation for them. I thought they said that they were going to an island. Like, well, that's questionable. And then when Jordan shows up, I was like, oh, not good.
No, not good. And why didn't Jordan go on the boat before or after? I mean, she immediately took off once they arrived on the island to get ahead of Mina and Mark. Mm-hmm. So she could have taken a different ferry boat, presumably, and not had this awkwardness. Again, I felt like this situation was completely manufactured, that the production wanted them to sit close to one another and not talk and have this awful tension for us to enjoy. Anyway, the both of them, when they're sitting on this boat, look like they would rather be anywhere else, just not there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both talking to Mark in little asides that I guess the other one can't hear, but it seems kind of stupid that they would not be able to overhear what the conversation is, given that they're right beside each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mark should, I think, at this point have stepped in and tried to facilitate a good conversation between the two women. Jordan says that's what she thinks he should do. I completely agree. This is his role, given that he's created this whole situation and given that he is kind of like the go-between right now. He's the only one who can talk calmly to both of these women, independent of the others. We haven't seen him do that with both of them present yet.
But why would he?
Yes, he will not. He will not. He completely delegates all responsibility for this resolution to both of the women.
Right.
Jordan takes the first step. She leans over to Mina. She opens up. She tries to make peace between the two of them before they arrive on the island. And it seems to work to some extent.
Yeah, it seemed as though she was being genuine, and it seemed like Mina was accepting of the apology. However, in the little interview snippet, Mina was saying that she doesn't believe it.
Yeah, I don't understand why she has to be so suspicious all the time, that she can't just accept at face value that Jordan is making an overture of peace towards her and change her attitude. Just base what your thoughts and feelings and reactions are on this moment, rather than assuming that everything behind it is of ill intent and then having adverse reactions when you hear something that you don't like, which may be something very small.
Yeah, I think it's really surprising that she continues to pull the snake card when it's entirely possible that we don't have enough information to be able to make that assessment, to be able to understand where Mina's coming from. However, based on what we know of, she's only met Jordan the 2 times now. One was at the baby shower and one was at, or maybe 3 times, I assume the wedding, maybe.
They haven't had a wedding yet.
For some reason, I thought there was one on the other. Anyway, so 2, and then on the beach. And now this is the 3rd time. So what is she creating this pattern of behavior, or how is she creating it? Where does she get that from? Is she just like hanging on the fact that she doesn't agree with anything that she's saying? And now, she's a snake. Snake. Also, is that a French thing? Calling someone a snake, or no?
I don't think so. I've not heard it that much. Anyway, she's fixated. She's determined to be suspicious, and she's also determined that Jordan is a snake, and so at every opportunity she's going to call her that. Great.
It's just such gross behavior. Grow up.
Exactly.
But that's
this
clearly
this woman, Jordan, is going to be your stepdaughter. Do you really think it's the best start to call her a snake several times and to be suspicious of her, even though she's coming to you and saying, I apologize, I just want us to get off on the right foot and let's try to make peace now? Such a bad attitude. Anyway, the fact that Jordan takes off or gets to the family before Mina does immediately sets off her internal alarm system. And she says, oh, of course, she left to get there first because she wants to talk badly about me. Like, come on. Give her a chance.
And also, how much later were they before they arrived? Because we know that Mina has issues with timeliness.
Yes, we do. I don't know. I mean, given Mark was there and they had to go find a golf cart, I would have said maybe 10 to 15 minutes behind them. Not substantial, but you're right. There could have been a good gap in between Jordan getting to the family barbecue and the rest of them coming. We don't know.
We don't know.
I found it very interesting, though, when we were speaking to the various family members, that they had some very, very strong opinions of Mina. So why don't we talk about that for a little bit?
May I start?
Yes.
One thing that I found extremely interesting, I think this was what stood out the most to me, was when they said that when they first arrived, Mina cooked them dinner.
That was Mark's mom.
And Mina cooked them dinner, and yet when she was cooking for Mark and Maria at home, she burned the bottom of an electric skillet because she turned on the skillet and the gas burner.
Blow on the stove.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Mark's mom has such a positive attitude, saying she cooked us dinner. It was really nice. She looked after us. When we arrived, we were all really tired. And I was like, wow, because the mom was the first one to speak about Mina. So I thought, oh my goodness, perhaps Jordan is the only odd one out in this situation. And Mina has actually been really nice to everybody. But
It didn't pan
Mom
out that
was
way.
only one voice. There were many other voices.
Everyone else reflected everything that Jordan had said. You know, the first night was great. And then, you know, the next day she completely shafted them with being 4 hours late to the shower. And then it comes out that other people were informed, her friends and other people, that it was going to start later, but no one informed them. And I wanted to know, was Mark informed?
Good question.
Because presumably he was there with his family the whole time being like, WTF, where is she? And he could have told them, oh no, we decided to push it by however many hours, likely very much not 4, but nobody said anything about Mark advising them. And we've heard in the past them saying, you know, he was there and he was playing with the baby and we were all playing with the baby. So he was there. So was this just Mina's, like, her own little party where she wanted his family to grovel for whatever reason? It doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the purpose?
I don't know. All I can think is that Mina would have been communicating with her friends in French. So even if somebody had overheard the conversation, they would not have understood what was going on with regards to a delay. So she tells all her friends, I'm going to be late, hang back for a couple of hours or whatever the conversation might have been. But then did she relay that information to Mark or not? Debatable. I mean, there's an instance here where we get a conflict between the two of them where he says one thing and she says the opposite. So maybe she did and he didn't realize it or didn't just make a note of it or think it was meaningful.
He could have just not internalized it. Oh yeah, you're always late. Maybe she said, I'm going to be late. And he was like, yeah, okay, cool. You're always late.
But it is a good indicator, I think, of something weird being afoot. The fact that Mina told all of her friends that she was going to be late, that the party would start later, and she did not communicate that, or somebody failed to communicate that to all of Mark's family so that they were the ones who were just left holding the bag and also looking after Maria during the 3 or 4 hours that it took for Mina to finally arrive. Not very good impression to make on all of your family, which is why I think we hear from Mark's sister-in-law and his brother, both of whom back up what Jordan says, saying that Mina is not a good person or their impression of her is not good, that they understand Jordan's perspective and where she's coming from. And Mark's brother even says that with regards to the wedding, which is still yet to come, obviously, that he and his wife have booked refundable tickets to the wedding because they're just not sure if it's going to happen, if something is going to occur at the last minute and Mina's going to flip out and things will get changed.
I think
that's also very telling.
Also financially responsible and reasonable.
But if it's like you would think, it's a wedding, it's going to take place, I believe it's going to happen, so I can buy this ticket, I'll just buy the cheap one, don't have to worry about it. But no, they are building this into their behavior, is the contingency plans for what if Mina doesn't show up, what if this wedding doesn't take place.
I have personal commentary to that, but I'll leave it. So after that, they start talking about the prenup.
Well, they start talking about it. Jordan brings it up in front of everybody, which is the asshole move of the century. And all I can think is that either she is the asshole of the century or production has made her do this. Because why? Why on earth would you bring up this subject in front of your entire family and your soon-to-be stepmother? You discuss it privately with your dad if you're really concerned.
Or maybe she's tried to talk to him about it and he doesn't listen. So now she needs to bring it to the entire family so the entire family could add pressure to him so that it actually becomes a thing. Or she is pissed off at Mina and Maria because they're going to impact her inheritance.
That's a possibility. But given Jordan just made an overture of peace on the boat on the way to this stupid island, why is she now saying out loud, what about the prenup?
Oh God, I'm going to say it. She's rocking the boat.
Well,
sorry. I'm sorry.
I feel very strongly that production put her up to this because, first of all, she did just try to make peace and now she's doing this completely asinine move and it's in front of everybody where there's no hiding. It's going to be discussed now. Inappropriate, ill-conceived, just bad choice on Jordan's part.
That is a decision that is like, this is not going to go well. Let's make everyone uncomfortable. And she headed that war.
And Mark's mom, tries to make a joke out of it, which falls completely flat. And Mina has no recourse, really. I felt for her, even though I don't particularly like her. I felt for her that everybody is talking about her and Mark's prenup, which she claims is a setup. She knows nothing about it, she says.
Claims.
And he claims. And the mom is trying to make a joke about it as if this is funny. It's not funny. It's very important, very serious matter. You should be having a private discussion. You should be seeking a lawyer's advice. There are all kinds of ramifications to this that just do not make it appropriate joke subject matter. So she has to run away.
I can appreciate his mom trying to lighten the mood.
Yes.
Though I can also see how it absolutely did fall flat.
Did not work. And before Mina runs away, she does put out the standard response to the prenup, which is, I marry you, not your money. I love you, not your money. You know, what we've heard time and again over many, many seasons. So she's out for her little time out. Mark tells the camera and everybody there, yes, we've talked about this. Yes, we've had these discussions, but they clearly haven't gone through any paperwork yet or any discussion of the finer details of what a prenup would include. And Mina says, nope, never discussed it, never had any inkling that this was on Mark's radar. He's never brought it up, nothing like this, not a prenup, not a marriage document, not a contract, nothing. Okay. Who do you believe?
I'm pretty sure there was actually a clip of them discussing it, or it was brought up in an interview previously, because I was under the impression that they had a prenup. Did you not catch that?
No.
I might have to go back. But yeah, I was under the impression that they already talked about it. So her saying, no, never talked about it, nothing. I'm like, nah, I call bullshit.
Okay. I don't know who to believe. I sort of believe her that they've never talked about it, just based on how completely out to lunch Mark seems to be. And the fact that he is avoiding all of this discussion, any discussion that tends to be uncomfortable or can lead down to more miscommunication and problems between his daughter and his soon-to-be wife. He just relinquishes all responsibility for that. So I can see him perhaps having brought it up casually to Mina at some point. What would you think if we had a prenup? And then given her response, completely letting it go and saying, oh, no, I'll deal with it later, but then not having dealt with it later.
I can see her, them having the conversation, him saying, I need you to sign one, and her being like, okay. And then she has the baby. And then she's like, why would I sign one now? I don't know. I don't trust this woman. I haven't trusted her since the second that she walked across my screen. So I'm going to leave it at, I don't know. And I don't believe her. Because two things can be true at the same time.
They can. They do. They are. They know. What? Why are we always subjected to this conversation on 90 Day Fiancé? It never fails in a given season to bring up the whole prenup situation. Don't people learn their lessons? Have we not been through this enough times that we don't need this as a stupid plot line twist? And aren't we all, or should be, adult enough to realize that prenups are important documents to have, especially if you're involved in a second marriage with somebody and they already have a family? They have to protect those kids and that family. So I don't know why we keep going down this road. It's getting boring. See? Now again, I'm bored. Okay. Reading on, please. Gregory and Joan.
Yay.
It's been 1 week. Just 1 week for her in the States. So
poor Joan.
Yeah, exactly. She's got the full picture now of what life with Gregory is like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says that she's nagging him because she's trying to keep him accountable for doing stuff like picking up his clothes off the floor, not being a slob. Nope, Greg, that's not nagging. That's called being an adult.
You didn't expect a woman to have expectations? That a woman who might possibly marry you might want to also not clean up after you? What a friggin' child.
Yes. And what a big red flag this is.
Massive.
Because he says, my mom usually takes care of all this stuff. She doesn't give me a hard time about it. Okay, this is not your mom, Greg. This is an adult woman who would like to be an adult with you and not be your mom. Why is your mom still picking up after you when you're 35?
Because she always has, and she's never made him do it. So this is the problem with coddling your children, is that, you want them to leave the nest. I mean, also, do you? You just want another woman to come in and take care of him the way that you would have. I've seen this from personal experience. I'm sorry, I'm not doing this for your child just because that's what they know and whatever. No, that doesn't mean that they're an adult and they can take care of themselves. And also, it's not my responsibility to take care of your child. I want to have an adult relationship with an adult. This is a non-negotiable in adult relationships. Like, there's no excuse that she can have for this. She just didn't teach him the right skills. She didn't teach him how to, I hate to say it again, but to be an adult, to take care of himself. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And this scene really, really rubbed me the absolute wrong way because she's so intelligent. She's so self-sufficient. She had such a great life before she came here. And this is the shit that he provides her.
It's not great. It's felt embarrassing for Joan when she has to call her family. Well, she doesn't have to call them, but she does call them, and she has to tell them what's been going on, what things are really like for her. And she also has to tell them that she thinks it's going to be at least 2 years before she returns to Uganda for a visit, which is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
But we really see quite clearly how Joan is ashamed of not being able to do anything for herself. She can't work. She can't earn money. She's basically a prisoner. And she's ashamed of the fact that Greg doesn't have a job, that he's not earning any money. He's not being financially stable. As you said once or twice, he's not being an adult.
I'm sorry I said that so many times. And then he somehow encourages his mom to go get a job as a delivery driver, and yet he can't do the same thing.
I know.
It's beneath him. It's beneath him.
It's such a paradox. He is capable of working. We saw him in the first episode doing bakery work and plumbing work part-time for people that he knows. Great. Why is he not doing more of that? Was that all performative? Because we haven't seen anything like that since.
I feel like we should add in a splice from our very first episode when we met him. We're saying the same thing.
Okay.
Like, we had the hope of him being a man, like multifaceted man who can do so many different things, a handyman, little poopy tail, and yet we get nothing from him. And he even made a comment like, had I taken that job, which I don't believe was a thing, he wouldn't have been able to spend so much time with her. Oh no. And yet you don't have enough money to have your own space, to be able to create your life with this woman who you love. There's the similarities with Gino, but Gino had a very well-paying job that he quit. He had savings. They weren't living with his mother. He didn't have his mother living in his closet. Like, so many differences. I feel so bad for Joan. And I really want to see their communications and how they were. I think I said this last week, just because it doesn't make any sense, because she's so incredible and he's kind. However, he acts like he's about 15 years old.
Yeah.
If that. I know more responsible 15-year-olds than he is.
Mm-hmm. When she's talking to her family, I think this is when the dowry comes up, isn't it? And we know that Greg has to pay the dowry in order for them to get married. This is a condition. Doesn't really seem like he's taking this very seriously, as he does not seem to be taking anything seriously so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very, very messy. She says to Greg, like she's being very, very diplomatic about it. She's trying not to tell him, why the hell haven't you gotten a job? And why the hell aren't you out there looking for a job right now rather than sitting at your computer all day, which seems to be what he's doing. He acknowledges he needs to get a job. He says he's trying to get a job, but Joan one-ups him and puts kind of an ultimatum over his head by saying, I will go back to Uganda if you do not get a job. And I was cheering. I was like, good for you, Joan. Because what person, man or woman, would put up with this situation long term? Sponging off a parent, not having your own home when you're 35 years old, even if it's a rental, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be home ownership. Your own space where you can be an adult and make sure that you're taking care of yourself rather than having somebody else do it for you. Having a job, getting responsibility, doing the adult things. He's not doing any of it. So why would she stick around? And she even gives examples of his friends who she just met a few days ago. They are all grown-up ass men. They have responsibilities. They have jobs. Why doesn't Greg?
In Greg's defense, is it fair that it's all on him? I'm so glad you caught that was a joke. He takes zero accountability. There's no integrity. He couldn't have a 9 to 5 because he was trying to go visit her, and yet that's her fault.
Yeah.
And also, how did you pay for these visits? But it's not fair that it's all on him. And it's not all on him, which is even more hysterical because it's on his mom. She's the one paying for everything. She's the one paying for the house. And we assume that she's also the one that has sponsored and or co-sponsored the visa. It's not all on you. I don't typically agree with the whole like man up thing, which is what Joan had said. Those are her words, not mine. He just needs to grow the F up.
Totally. I loved his excuse of basically it's an asset not to have a job because then that means he can travel more to go see her. I wasn't under the impression that he visited Uganda 1,700 times or even 5 times. It was twice. He went twice. He went once when he just met her, but they didn't actually spend much time together. And then the second time after they'd had their online relationship and they decided that they were going to be dating.
And one of the most important parts about traveling is having money to be able to buy your tickets, to be able to purchase accommodations, food. No? Okay.
Just the way that he tries to wiggle out of this responsibility of the bride price, what he's going to have to come up with in order to pay for these 15 cows, which is $3,000. It's not insubstantial, but it's also not the biggest amount. It's definitely not nearly what you would pay for a wedding, which he also has to pay for. But the way that he tries to wiggle out of that responsibility, I found to be pretty reprehensible.
Yeah.
Not just that he was trying to shirk the responsibility, but that he was making it into a joke. And in that joke, it was implicit that if she couldn't get the joke, that was on her. And I was just like, no.
That's not how this works. Could you imagine if Niles did this to Matilda? No, that relationship would be done quicker than it started.
Yeah.
And
So
Niles did everything that he possibly could to make it happen, including borrowing money from Mr. Ark. Oh, Greg doesn't have a Mr. Ark to be able to guide him through these ways. And now he's just stuck in his adolescent, I want to say brainhood. I don't think that's a term.
Well, okay, so he doesn't have Mr. Ark. He doesn't have somebody that he can borrow money from readily that we know of. That isn't mom. Mm-hmm. But he does have skills. He has these plumbing skills. He has an interest in making a bakery business happen for himself. He keeps telling us that's his dream. And we know that he's capable of making bread and selling it or giving it to friends or people in the neighborhood. Why is he not doing any of that? This guy has zero initiative.
Why didn't he get a job at a bakery? Why don't you just start from there, see what it actually looks like to work in a bakery, let alone run a bakery? Because it's completely different. Working at one, you go in, you do your thing, and you leave, which is what I think he wants to do. However, I don't believe people who work at a bakery who don't have a patisserie diploma. Yeah. You're not going to start off making $20 an hour, but I would assume, based on what we know about him, that's what he expects. Yeah. He doesn't want to start from the bottom. He wants to start from the top because he's already worth it because his mom has told him.
No, the fact that he's only looking for a job working in some kind of government agency tells me everything that I need to know, which is that he's looking for one of those cushy jobs that he thinks is going to be really easy and pays very well, has great benefits. But as we all know, those jobs are quickly disappearing across the U.S. landscape. So he probably even has a lesser chance than ever to get one of those.
Especially now. And as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but he doesn't even have a diploma. He doesn't have a degree. He doesn't have a BA. He doesn't.
Don't know. Don't think so.
We don't know anything about his actual education. Mm-hmm. And, based on the Canadian government, for the majority of positions, you need to have at least a BA in something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether or not it's applicable to your position. You just need to have one.
Yes. because it shows that you are committed to things. It shows that you actually follow through, you have initiative, you are determined, you are somebody who goes after goals and achieves things. Like you said, doesn't really matter what the subject matter is. It's just the behavior that it exhibits in that person is what an employer is looking for.
I have 2 comments. One, is that fair? And 2, the amount of cats that are just going up and down the stairs and around behind you.
It's cat rush hour here. Anyway, Joan puts her foot down. She says, if she sees no effort, she's out. I gotta hand it to you, Joan. I love you. I think you're wonderful. Yep. More power to you. Stick to your guns. Make this man get off his ass and do something so that you guys can have a real chance to be on your own and be in an adult relationship.
I agree with you. It just sucks that needs to be the, God, here we go with the words again. Was that word? Ultimatum.
Good one.
It just sucks that she needs to actually lay down an ultimatum in order for him to actually get his shit together. And we don't even know if it actually happened. I hope it does, because, from the very beginning, we were very hopeful for this couple.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful, but the more that we get to know about Greg, the more I can see that he's just not useful.
I have one final comment. Joan, if you're listening, leave Greg's chickens alone. Actually, leave Greg's mom's chickens alone. They're egg-laying chickens. Leave them alone. Please. Thank you. What about you? Final comments on them?
Oh, thank God Renee wasn't there.
Excellent point. Reading on.
Oh, yes, please.
Shawn and Alliya. Boy, this couple goes out in the evening. It's the second day that Alliya is in Los Angeles. They go out to meet a friend of Shawn's and to play bingo. Okay. Alliya wants to know if this is a popular game with the gays. And I wanted to say to her, that could be, I don't know, but I know that it's popular with retired people. Look around you.
I love bingo.
You're not retired.
I have never actually gone to a bingo hall and played bingo, but I did play TV bingo with my dad, which is aging me. But I also love the bingo scratch ticket. Anyway, bingo is a lovely pastime, and I'm very glad that she gets to be introduced to this, although I think it might be one of the most boring things for her to encounter on her second night, although it could also be the most exciting.
It seemed to have turned into like the nicest part of the evening when they were playing bingo, because after that, things did not go very well at all.
Yeah. When we first started talking to Angela, her friend, or Shawn's friend, she was saying about what she knew about their relationship, and that they're still in good shape and they're still getting along. But that doesn't sound like a resounding vote of confidence. How about, sorry, go ahead.
What I noticed between the couple is there's no touching, there's no physicality at all. I feel like there's no chemistry. I keep watching them, waiting for there to be a touch of the arm or like a leaning into each other or maybe a kiss. God forbid. There's nothing. They are very hands off.
Which is strange because Shawn is very hands on with others. Am I right?
You are correct, madam. Yes. Yeah, them rehashing the whole Douglas versus Alliya history made me very uncomfortable. I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to talk about it anymore because I know how hurtful it is for Alliya to have to go through those emotions and to hear people talk about Douglas, and to have your fiancé talk lovingly about this other man who is not you must be horrible. It must hurt so much. And nobody picks up on the fact. Neither one of these two jokers picks up on the fact, which is as clear as day, that Alliya is uncomfortable and she doesn't want to hear them talking about Douglas anymore. They just keep on talking Douglas.
And I wonder how many times she's had this conversation with Shawn previously. Don't use my dead name. That makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'll give some grace to the friend Angela, because based on Shawn's admittance of not telling his friends and family very much about her, I can definitely see how he wouldn't have said, do not use Douglas. That is her dead name. She is Alliya. Please respect that. I cannot see him saying that in the slightest. And the fact that he didn't say it during this entire conversation and he actually continued to do it himself, I found that quite revolting. Where's the respect for your relationship? Where's your respect for your, there was none. And I really felt for her. Yeah.
And it wasn't just the lack of respect for Alliya and ignoring how she was feeling. It was that the conversation then turns to focus on how Shawn adapted to Alliya, not how Alliya coped with her transition. It's like her feelings, her role in all of this is suppressed,
Her
and Shawn's
existence.
and Shawn's role is elevated to how did you cope with this? How did you feel about Douglas disappearing or Douglas dying or Douglas this? Or how much were you invested in Douglas, and how are you feeling now about Alliya? Like, this seems besides the point. Anyway, Alliya does pipe up at the end of the evening, and she says, I'm uncomfortable with you, Shawn, using this dead name. I'm uncomfortable with your friend using the dead name, and it's come up so many times. It's been quite painful. And Shawn just dismisses it. He doesn't
he brushed
show
her right
any
off.
concern. He doesn't show concern. He doesn't apologize. Just let's forget about it. That's not important.
Before we move on to the next thing, I just wanted to say my silence was because I was Googling the word martyr. So when you were saying about, everything was about Shawn and how Shawn fails, he's the martyr in this situation. Poor Shawn. He had to deal with Douglas transitioning into Alliya. How does he feel about that? Okay, anyway. And then going off of what you were just saying, he doesn't get it at all. Yeah. And then he made the comment like, what? Like, before Alliya, you were nothing? Is that what it is? You were just nothing? Before that, Douglas is nothing? Now you're relegating her to a complete lack of existence prior to her transitioning without respecting who she was, who she is, and who she will be. The lack of respect, the lack of compassion, the lack of understanding, just the lack of love was repulsive.
Yeah. This is why I'm very unsettled when I'm watching their segments, because I'm confused. I'm confused by Shawn particularly. I don't feel the love between this couple. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't see any chemistry between them. I don't see any physical affection. We've heard Shawn speak in previous seasons about how he doesn't like a person who's outspoken or very secure. He doesn't enjoy Alliya's personality. He prefers somebody like Douglas who was quiet and submissive. All of this stuff makes me feel like he doesn't really love her. And I'm not sure why he's going through the motions with her. I don't understand what's going on. I'm very, very confused.
He is predatory. He preyed on her because she was, a 22-year-old man at the time, as a 60-something-year-old man, and he's stuck with it for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. The age gap is an issue.
Yes.
The lack of respect is an issue. I don't think that these two are going to work out. I really hope that they don't, for her sake, because she deserves so much better. She's so young. She's only, 25? She deserves better. Let him go off with all of his F buddies and whatever. Leave him to his own devices. He's fine. You go and you soar like the eagle that you are.
Yeah. But, we'll see. Anyway, the next day comes along and it's clear that Alliya is still in pain about the night before. The Shawn it doesn't seem like he can give her what she needs, which is affirmation, admiration, acceptance. She again asks him to stop using the dead name because he's still using it. And as soon as he says it, as soon as Alliya says that, stop using my dead name, Shawn says something like, why do you want me to stop talking about Douglas? Or, Douglas, blah, 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 blah. It's like, did you not just hear what she said? You're doing it again. He shows no empathy. He's dismissive. I don't know what's going on. How can he talk so much about Douglas, about how he's lost Douglas, how he's grieving Douglas? I'm really confused. How can you have those feelings be so much talked about? How can you be so consumed by those feelings, and yet this person is here in front of you and she is your fiancé? You are about to get married within the next 90 days. I don't understand.
I have nothing. I don't know.
Shawn's answer to all of this is to just kind of make niceness and say, oh, I'm going to live in the present. I'm going to stop talking about the past. And then he makes the gesture of bringing out the adventure book, which is the sequel to the Shawn and Douglas book. Now it's the Shawn and Alliya book. Okay, I like that. That's a really nice gesture. That shows compassion and lovingness, but his actions don't align with that kind of behavior.
Which it kind of makes me wonder if that's another production plan. Keep using your dead name, keep pissing her off, cause that drama because they don't have any other drama going on. And
Could
then
be.
present her with the book, and then everything's copacetic. Everyone's happy. You've made this great gesture, which would have been lovely had we not seen everything else. Like, is giving her this book his gesture of goodwill that he's never going to use the dead name again? No. It's almost like a tangible platitude. Want to talk about a segue?
Shall we read on?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I know the answer to that question. Jessica and Juan, the kids are back. Everybody's in their matching pajamas.
Yeah, I thought that was really cute.
Yes, it was cute. I don't know about this tradition. She says it's a tradition in America for everybody to have matching pajamas. What? Really?
I can tell you that I miss my matching pajamas.
You're missing that? You miss them? What?
Yeah. I used to get them every year.
Oh.
And then, yeah. And they were the greatest pajamas ever. Every year. They were so great. And it didn't matter that they were, matching or not. It was just the brand new pajamas, and they were just.
Well, I guess I'm the one who's missing out. I have never indulged in this particular activity.
Yeah, I
clearly.
can't tell you how excellent those pajamas were. Anyway, about these ones, I think it's nice that she's trying to incorporate him into the family. Isn't that lovely? But is it Christmas already?
Yeah, it is, because they've got the tree up.
Right.
It's coming.
All right.
So they go for a walk with the kids. They're taking the two boys to their dad's house, and they have not yet had a follow-up conversation to what happened the night before in the bar, which was the revelation to Megan that Juan had cheated, and then Jessica's revelation to Juan that she had emotionally cheated with an ex-boyfriend, which he already knew, but he didn't know it was an ex-boyfriend. Right. Okay, good. We're done. They get rid of the kids, and now they can speak. Jessica says, I didn't do what you did. Okay.
Yep.
Yes
so
and no.
Didn't she say that she was emotionally connected with the guy, or that she caught feelings?
Yeah.
Do you think that he caught feelings when he was just having a one-night stand? Like, what's worse?
Yeah, I understand what she means, but she is also responsible for her feelings, and she was emotionally cheating. She was emotionally invested with this guy. Yes, she should have told Juan from the beginning that it was her ex rather than just saying it was a man, and then he doesn't know who this random person was.
She really pisses me off because she kept saying, they weren't communicating at the time. He wasn't on his best behavior. And also neither was she, because she ran into the arms of an ex who was also not in a good place at that time. Oh, shit. Two vulnerable people who have an emotional and sexual past just watching TV.
Not their fault. Nothing wrong here. Nothing to see. Move on. Definitely not cheating. Wow. Okay. I don't know. Their segment was so short. Nothing really happened. She asks him this pointed question at the end. If he really, really wants to be with them, if he really wants to be in the US, if he's ready for that, he says he can do it, and he does want that. So, okay, fine. I'm not convinced.
But no, the words that she uses were, do you want all of this? And then she goes on to say that, this is what's normal. You settle down, you have a family. Do you want all of this? And he says, yes, I want you, and I want my son, or something to that effect. So he wants his family with you, with his kid, but he doesn't want your other two.
I'm not sure if I would read that far into it, but I hear you.
I sure did. You can tell that, he tries to like the kids, and he tries to have fun with them, but they're so overwhelming. She has no boundaries with them. There are no doors. Like, the poor guy.
I don't think the kids are as much of an issue for him to adjust to as it is to adjust to the way of life and where he's living compared to where he came from, and how exciting, how different, how fun it was before, living on a cruise ship and being in a beautiful, warm country.
I don't know about that.
No,
because you think about you go from the cruise ship to shit country, and that's one thing. You go from a cruise ship to living in a house with an infant, and two children who know no boundaries. I think I would rather get off the cruise ship and just live in shit.
Ooh.
As opposed to having to deal with all the kids. Personal preference. But either way, the poor guy is stuck with all of it. And we've talked about this before, that he didn't know what he was walking into. And you could really see that he's really getting a taste of the air.
Yum. Delightful.
God, poor guy. Anyway, Jessica is taking no accountability. She also has no integrity. It's all him. I didn't do what you did. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, great.
Again, boring.
Yes.
Okay. We didn't see Matt, Amani, and Ani this week. We did not see Stevie and Maddie either. Next week, we will see Stevie and Maddie. They're talking about saving money. Megan and Jessica are going to have a discussion. They're going to set the record straight. Shekinah and Sarper are going to meet up with Sophie for the ultimate test. Alliya and Shawn are also going to have a discussion about very difficult things. I don't know what that entails. Jordan and Mina have another chat with Mark's mom as their referee. Everybody's having very difficult discussions next week. And then finally, Ani is going to come under fire. We didn't see that coming, for keeping her relationship a secret. Relationships.
Monumental. Groundbreaking. Moving mountains.
Good. Final comments, notes, anything?
If you don't stop me now, I'm going to start quoting Celine Dion.
Oh dear. Let's wrap it up. Before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiancé Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give our show a follow. And if you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find our show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.